Hey divas! Hey divas! Well, hello divas! Not the pride flag falling. Not the pride flag falling. So, for a lot of you gamers out there, your first social gaming experience was probably at an arcade of some kind. Well, maybe if you were born in my generation or before. I'm not sure what the kids these days' first gaming experiences look like. But for me, my first gaming experience was at home with my siblings because I was fortunate enough to have all three of the competition's consoles in my house at some point. I had a PS3, I had a Nintendo Wii, and I had an Xbox 360. So I never really felt the need to go game anywhere else but my house. So I was very fortunate, but not a lot of kids in Africa were as fortunate as I. And I found out a lot of their first gaming experiences were not at home, but they were actually at other friends' houses or in this little tiny store at the back of a strip mall in my hometown that I went to for the first time as a young tween and girl. That was scary. We are gonna get into a lot of Africans' first gaming experiences, my first gaming experience even before that fateful day I walked into that strip mall, and we are gonna take a little journey back in time and talk about a real African gamer's experience from the Genesis. When I was a wee little toddler, only 3 years old, I had my first ever actual experience with a video game console, and I broke it. This isn't an account I actually remember, obviously, because I was 3, but my brothers had a Game Boy, an original Game Boy. And the original Game Boy, some of them have survived nuclear blasts. There is one in the Smithsonian, I think, at this moment. What did I do to this Game Boy in order for it to stop working after my interaction? I don't know, but according to my brothers, it was me and a baby bottle, and all of a sudden, that console was dead. However, this story does have a good ending because of my 3-year-old tantrum. That Game Boy that they both owned together became 2 Game Boy Advances that they owned separately, and they each got a copy of gold and silver on their Game Boy Advances. So that indirectly benefited me because I grew up in a household surrounded by video game consoles. I mean, soon after they got their Game Boy Advances and Pokemon, they also got a PlayStation 2 with Rayman. And that is honestly the beginning of my gaming journey, is those 2 Game Boys, but primarily that PlayStation 2. And that PlayStation 2 would be my jumping point into games that were actually outside of Nintendo, but I am gonna get into that at a later point in this video. Now, I grew up very privileged. I had a PlayStation 3, Xbox, and Nintendo Wii all in my house at one time. The PlayStation 3 was the most short-lived, and I never played any single game on it. I did play a few games on the Xbox 360, but they were really only indie games and short arcade games that you could get off of the Xbox Live subscription. So my experience with Xbox was also quite limited. I very much glommed onto the Nintendo Wii that I had in my house. But eventually, that Nintendo Wii stopped working. And at that same time, the PS3 that we did have, we gave it back to the person that we were borrowing it from, and he gave it to us for about 2 or 3 months. So at that time, I just had an Xbox 360 in the house that didn't really do much for me. I finished all of the arcade games that I actually liked on the console, and every other game was a game I didn't even want to try and play because it just wasn't for me, such as Red Dead Redemption, Call of Duty, and Battlefield. I'm sorry if you love those games, but I cannot play them. I just do not find enjoyment in those games. Neither do I find enjoyment in FIFA, which is also another game that was on that same console. So, all of this coming together led me to experiencing what it was like to go into that store at the end of that strip mall and actually have an arcade experience for the first time. And honestly, it was kinda trash, even at the time. Like, let me break this down for you. In South Africa, where I live now, they used to have Wonderland, they used to have the Magic Castle or the Magic Cable or whatever, and they had actual real arcades down here in South Africa. Where I'm originally from, in Malawi, where this strip mall was, that was the only arcade experience that we had, was literally a store that was rented out and turned into a space that could be used for gaming. There were no arcade machines in there, just dusty CRTs, flat screens, cables everywhere, and a bunch of consoles hooked up to them, all with beanbags lining the walls. And honestly, it was kinda cute, but it was a very small space, not the coolest, and because there was only like, 6 to 7 TVs, you either had to play a game with somebody, or you just had to wait. And a lot of the time I was waiting, and that honestly is what brought me back home. And eventually I got another Nintendo Wii from another friend that did not want their Wii, and I was back to gaming at home all over again. I bring all this up to make the point that not having a Dave & Buster's or an arcade or a social place where I can share my love for gaming with other people my age really changed how I played video games. Video games became a thing that I don't even like to play online because every gaming experience I had was with my brothers or friends I invited over to my house. And I love multiplayer games to this day for that reason. And I don't mean online multiplayer games because I didn't grow up with the internet that much. I mean local couch co-op games. Games that are dying in this day and age, but that is a topic for another video. Anyways, to sum up this whole point and to get into what I was saying earlier, not having an arcade kind of changed me as a gamer. And I honestly feel like I would be not a better gamer, but I feel even more so of a gamer now if I did have a social experience like that. If I did meet other people my age who like the games that I like. If I did have a Dave & Buster's or a Wonderland or a Magic Castle arcade franchise in my country, but I didn't have any of those things. And it made me into the gamer I am today. A gamer that prioritizes couch co-op and a gamer that is obsessed with Pokemon. But let me not faff on too long about this. Let's cap this video off with my overall experience as a gamer in this continent. Now, I have mentioned how South Africa did have very prominent arcade franchises such as the Magic Company and the Fun Company. However, a lot of South Africans' first gaming experience was not in either of those establishments. A lot of first gaming experiences for South Africans actually happened in Panarotis and in Spur restaurants. Yes, honey, fast food establishments. These restaurants, specifically the two I just mentioned, had game setups similar to the ones that I had in that strip mall hallway back in Malawi. Just a simple TV that someone bought and hooked up a console to. Sometimes they did a little extra work and wired the consoles into a physical thing so you couldn't move it. But a lot of the times it was just a TV and a console and the controller just there for you to play at the restaurant. And honestly, it sounds pretty cool. I never had something like that, but I wish I did. However, these restaurants still did sometimes have actual arcade cabinets. A friend of mine does remember playing Street Fighter on one of said cabinets in a Spur restaurant, which is crazy to me. But it's cool that not all African countries were as deprived as Malawi when it came to arcade access. Because your boy over here has only ever touched an arcade machine as an adult. Imagine being surrounded by consoles your whole life, but only as an adult you touch a real arcade machine. That, to me, is still insanity. And by the way, the first time I actually did touch an arcade machine, I fell immediately in love. The Street Fighter traditional joystick with 6 buttons, live, laugh, love for that. Live, laugh, love for that. But anyways, when I talk about gaming now, it's not just about the consoles I owned. Every experience I've had with gaming has made me into the gamer I have today. And honestly, I feel like it shaped me into quite the unique gamer. I am a gamer that does not like online environments due to not growing up with them in my games. I am a gamer who prioritizes couch co-op. I'm a gamer who is a purist when it comes to playing on consoles. Just look at the way I've transferred my Pokemon. I don't do it the hacky generative way. I use a real 3DS in order to get real Pokemon from original games and transfer those real Pokemon into my latest Pokemon games. So girl, I love me some old hardware. I love me some analog. I love me some nostalgia when it comes to my games, honey. And that would only happen with all the unique experiences I've had gaming. My Wii breaking, me seeing this arcade for the first time, me breaking my first ever console I touched. Sorry, my brothers. You guys did get 2 Game Boy Advances out of this though, so actually, you're welcome. And I want to end off this video by saying if you related to any of the experiences in this video, even if you aren't African, let me know about your first gaming experience. What was it like? Was it in an arcade? Was it at home? Did you break your first ever game console? I want to know in the comments down below, honey. So please like and subscribe if you have not already. And have a beautiful, lovely day. Thank you so much for watching. And I will see you in the next video, baby. Woo!